Ladies and gents, welcome to the video. I'm GetGoodGuy and Battlefield 5 today, and we're talking about why I consider the medic class to be kind of the problematic class in the game right now. The most overpowered option you can go for. And I know what title I'm going for this video because it really conveys what the meaning of the content is, but I probably need to clarify it because I've thought about it a bit, and where it says really overpowered, what I mean is the real reasons for it explained and analysed. Not really in terms of extremely, because it's not. I'm not saying medic is super OP right now. It's just the standout option. And if the title is different when you get here, then I must have changed it for some reason, because I do that sometimes. And today this is my opinion, of course. Let me know which class you think is the best in those comments below and why. But there's lots of objective fact involved, as you will find. And there are lots of people saying that medic is the best right now, so I thought I would analyse it and give my spin on it. But that doesn't mean that other classes aren't good or can't be used to an extremely high level of ability. It doesn't suit all playstyles and all situations. It depends on the person, the mode, the map, and all that jazz. So let's kick this off. What is the first main reason why I think medic is the standout option right now and could maybe do with being brought in line a little bit in the 6.2 update, and hopefully will be? Well, I say that because the first thing is to do with the 6.2 update. In 6.2 we're supposedly heading back towards more noticeable recoil values, i.e. you have to control the guns more again. Right now they're all basically laser beams, as I keep saying. And that lack of recoil really pays on the medic class, because the predominantly used weapon for medic is the SMG. Now you do have the bolt action carbines, of course, but we all know it's the SMG that a lot of people are running around with. Now SMGs are generally used for close quarters play, generally, but a lack of recoil extends their viability out to longer ranges, beyond where a lot of people would maybe think that they should be effective. And it's not just SMGs, it's automatic weapons in general. Without recoil, you can land your damage more consistently, your viable range extends out, even if there is lower damage over range, of course. And that's why we have issues with things like the STG, the Type 2A, those kind of things. When you have higher damage or higher round per minute options, or just automatic weapons in general, being viable in a vast array of situations, it takes away the need to use semi-autos and things quite often. And so it's very obvious to see how that plays in with SMGs. The medic isn't limited to just short range, and indeed with some of them to just mid-range. Some SMGs are made for closer mid-range engagements, well now they can hit further out than that even. So of course I'm not saying that the SMGs are as lethal as the aforementioned, say, STG at those ranges. They have lower bullet damage and all that kind of stuff, but there are other things that I will go over that kind of pull them ahead for me. It doesn't always come down to raw damage, and the point remains, you can still use SMGs, as I will show throughout all of this video, at short, close, and even sometimes long range, and that probably shouldn't really be happening. On top of this, attrition has a massive impact. So right now, when you're assault, support, or recon, you have, as we all know, one med pouch when you spawn in. You take a sizable chunk of damage and you're going to use that med pack probably, and now you're running around without a way to heal properly. You're not going to be able to recoup all of your health if you go down to, let's say 50, 60 health. That's going to keep dwindling away over time as you take more damage, and you now need a medical station or heals from an actual medic. So besides that being a boost to medics because they're able to heal their teammates, of course, the med stations aren't always available or actually well placed. So if you're in the middle of a massive fight, you're probably not going to be able to just get up and walk off to a med station. You're going to get killed. The med stations sometimes are in confusing locations, or there are large areas where there just aren't any for some reason. If you're playing solo, you're going to find it especially hard, which I do most of the time. And if there aren't medics around, or the medics around you aren't very good or aren't very helpful, you're stuck again. You're in a situation that you just don't run into in quite a lot of other first-person shooters. Whereas if you're a medic, you have infinite heals. Take some damage? Fine, heal up. Take some damage again? Fine, heal up. So you've got this run and gun class, which is also able to somewhat reliably challenge at mid and, as said, sometimes long range, or definitely long range if you use a bolt action carbine, and you can be basically immortal as long as you don't take too much damage in one go. Not to mention you can use the heals in the middle of gunfights as well. It's just an incredibly powerful combination, and medic can avoid one of the key aspects of the game that the other classes are having to deal with that they introduced in BF5. Because this did somewhat happen in BF1 as well, but it was without attrition. Now medics were somewhat problematic in that game, at least some of the time, because they were using mainly semi-autos, and having semi-auto rifles with heals meant that gunfights went on for just ages with them. They could just heal and hide, heal and hide. They were extremely good at mid to long range, and yeah, it was a real issue. But there's also issues to having close range weapons that can heal, because they just become the outright rushing option that outclasses everything else. The question is, overall, how do you balance being able to heal more whilst also being lethal? Well, it's an issue, of course. I don't envy DICE on trying to balance that one. Maybe there is no real way to balance that out, but attrition definitely exacerbates the issue. And it's interesting because quite a lot of people aren't very fond of attrition and maybe wouldn't miss it in the next game, which would then bring down the ultimate healing class a little bit. Just something to consider and keep in mind. Oh, and not to mention you can revive those around you, of course, as a medic, so that's another feather in their cap. And onwards. So I am seeing a whole load of medics at the minute. It's part of why I was inspired to make this video, because when you're constantly seeing a class and you're constantly seeing people complain about them, or people making points like, I just see organized squads with 4 medics, or, you know, all that kind of stuff, it kind of gets lodged in your mind. But I try to look at this without any bias at all. And yes, I do think there are quite a lot of medics at the minute, but they're not rampant. It's not as if it's 99% of the play base, of course. Part of the reason why there are so many medics right now is probably the Type 2A though. Again, I will say I don't think that gun is as overpowered as some people think, but I do think it's too strong. It shouldn't be able to fire that quickly and have a 51 round magazine or even a 30 or 31 on the higher rate of fire. It's just too much. But yeah, with that being the in thing right now, of course people are going to use medics so they can use that weapon, and that's absolutely causing a lot of the complaints right now because people are just sick of seeing that gun everywhere. And that's understandable. If you're seeing something all the time, it's going to start to grate on you. I fully understand that. But actually, you know where we just were when talking about attrition? Let me revisit that because I've just thought I'm going to add this in. Health attrition, in my opinion, is worse than ammo attrition. Not having health will get you killed. There's not much you can really do about it. And just hiding the whole time really doesn't get you anywhere. You don't achieve anything. Whereas when it comes to ammunition, you have the option of picking other guns up off the ground. You can get a small amount of ammo off dead bodies. You also have a sidearm you can use. You can play more passively if you want whilst using that sidearm, or whilst you're low on ammo but still actually have ammo enough to get a kill. Whereas if you're low health, you're just going to lose a 1v1 gunfight if the enemy lands their damage as well. Basically, low health gives you next to no options. You're stuck, you're about to accept your death probably, whereas low ammunition isn't quite so bad. And I would say that playing solo, as I mentioned earlier, which I do a lot of the time, is extremely hard right now. There are lots of reasons for it which I'll probably cover in a specific video on that topic rather than today, but I find the easiest way to play when going solo is medic because of what I've listed so far. My point being, when you can't rely on those around you, being a medic just makes the most sense. Now onto the next aspect. Medics, when using SMGs, have fantastic hipfire ability, and a lot of people don't realize this. The SMG hipfire in this game is absolutely fantastic. It's so powerful. I probably don't utilize it anywhere near enough actually, as you'll see in the footage. I'm very much an ADS player, but I'm going to try and write that soon, and again maybe do a video on that as well. Not enough people are utilizing the hipfire, and it can give you a definite leg up on the competition. Now when it comes to using automatic weapons, the obvious competitors are the assault class and the support class, and I just feel like support doesn't have enough to offer right now. In the current weapon balance, support just isn't keeping up for me, which is another boost to the medic class. I'd rather use an SMG in a lot of circumstances rather than an LMG, and certainly an MMG. Then the medic class also gets smoke, a lot of smoke. I think, is it 4 smokes you get off respawn? So 2 smoke grenades, and then if you use the smoke launcher, 2 more there. And smoke is extremely powerful. Again, I don't think enough people are aware of this, and it really ups your survivability on a class that already has massive survivability. You can throw it down, stay out of flares, because you're spotted almost all the time in this game, it seems at the minute. So having all that smoke to use just boosts your potential to stay alive. And where the current weapon balance is concerned, a lot of people are aware that at long range, it's difficult to put people down with a lot of guns right now. There's lower damage at those ranges. And so again, medic can take some damage from range and just heal up. Whereas with other classes, it will slowly tick away at your health towards death. Medic, you can run about, take a bit of damage, heal, carry on. They're just so versatile and could do so much. And this kind of invalidates the assault class right now in a lot of ways, aside from the explosives. Now, as covered, the STG is still better at range, and assault rifles do have some benefits over SMGs. But when you consider the reliability of landing your damage on SMGs right now with the heals and all that sort of stuff, it's kind of like, why use assault? I still do, and it's still fun, but if you're not going to use a semi-auto rifle because they're not the meta at the minute, again, what does assault really have? You can deal with vehicles, yes, all that kind of stuff, but medic can run around and heal constantly. Now, I do want to add, this isn't a complaint video at all, by the way. I'm just explaining, just trying to flesh out your understanding of the game. I don't want to see more comments down there of, oh, you're always complaining. I'm not. I'm just taking an unbiased position. I'm showing the pros and the cons of everything. They'll be down there. You'll find them. You'll find complaints, I promise you. But my point is, I do want to add, it's almost impossible to get perfect balance in a game. It's not something we should hope for or reasonably expect. Now, the balance right now is really bad, but that point will remain regardless of how well or poorly balanced the game is. Perfect balance isn't really needed. It's not actually something that is attainable. The game just needs to be balanced enough. Oh, and I should add, actually, the one drawback I find on Medic, there aren't any really good or clear or range sights on it. Using the NIDAR sight, you can kind of lose what you're looking at. Everyone knows the Lati sight is kind of a bit cumbersome. They're just not really a great sight, whereas other classes do generally have that. But with all of that covered, that is my fairly long-winded explanation as to why I consider Medic to be the overpowered class in the game right now, the reasons for it, why it probably won't remain that way, and also why expecting perfect balance just isn't really reasonable. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please do leave me a like, it means a lot, and it helps the channel to grow. If you're new here, absolutely subscribe, maybe turn on notifications if you want to stay up to date, because I do have so much content coming out, and all of the links to my social media, including Patreon, can be found in the description and my pinned comment. Here is the board of awesome for the epic people who already support me on Patreon. They're all absolute heroes and love them all deeply, and of course, often. If you want to join them on the board of awesome, the link to the Patreon page is in the description and my pinned comment. And with that all said, I am GetGoodGuy, and I'll see you next time. Laters. So at say 10 meters, the Type 2A at its standard rate of fire, which is over 1,000 rounds per minute, with that 51 round magazine, can kill in 265 milliseconds. At the same range, the EMP can kill in 341 milliseconds, a difference of just 76 milliseconds